Hello and welcome to Colette and Matt have entered the chat. It's a weekly conversation about the most important thing in this world and universe. Everyone say it together.
Climate change.
Printer software. Oh, we are not aligned. We are not aligned.
We are totally going in two different directions, which doesn't usually happen.
No, we're very in sync usually. I don't know what's going wrong today. I am but one half of this fine equation. My name is Matt Silverman. I'm here with Colette Bennett.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
I just have to get something off my chest really quickly, and I need to complain really quickly. I own a printer.
Oh,
and
I see the printer connection now.
Yep. It prints things, and it printed things just fine for a number of months, perhaps even a year, I would say. And it scans, and it does color. It does a variety of things. And then yesterday, I opened up the printer to scan a handful of like forms, just shit you got to scan every now and then. You got to scan papers. And I open up, and it's a networked printer, so I guess it's wireless, but then it's on the network, so I can scan documents to my computer. And I open up the HP scan software, or the HP software, and it's like, okay, great, there's docs in the printer. I would like to scan them, please. And I think that that software was like, you need to update your software. I was like, all right, yeah, I just want to make sure I get the up-to-date software, patch those holes, whatever you do. Software updates, and then I hit the scan button in the software, which normally is like, okay, great, here's your paper, it's going to come through, great. And it's like, oh, you want to scan? Well, you need to log into your HP account to scan papers. And I was like,
no.
I'm going to skip that, and I'm just going to scan. And okay, X that out and scan. You need an HP account to scan. And I was like, what in the mother fucking hell? So I go on the internet, perhaps you've heard of that, and there are many other people who are like, what the fuck? Why does a printer that is literally in the room with me need to connect to an account and connect to the HP cloud so I can scan a paper from one side of the room into my computer? We are, and you know what? I have owned and been happy with a number of HP Hewlett-Packard products over the years. Computers, desktop PCs, printers, monitors, keyboard. Like, it's a fine peripheral hardware company, but like, holy shit.
But that's the kind of thing that can literally turn you off on a level that you're like, I don't want to use these products ever again. At least to me.
There it is.
Because
yes.
like, and to that note, I've definitely noticed more products in my world lately that are like, we want you to sign in and make an account. And I'm like, motherfucker. I don't want to make an account. Like, I don't want to, like, I just want you to let me do the thing. Right.
I was like, I could hack my way around. I just, we're all busy people, and I just didn't have it in me to uninstall the software and get whatever like root drivers and hack around the network. So I made a fucking account. And when you set up the account, it's like, would you like to receive advertising from HP? Would you like to do? And it's like, no. Just let me scan. Thank you. But like, you're right. It's like your fucking TV that you paid lots of money for is a smart TV that also puts ads into your, into the software of the TV because you're logged in and it's tracking it. It's like, I understand where advertising makes, if you're getting something for free, money's got to come from somewhere. But I bought this fucking printer.
Right. Yeah. I get it. I really do. And I'm also irritated by things like that. So I totally can see where you're coming from on that. I mean, you could always open the window and throw the printer out of it. I live on the edge of a lake, so I often like to threaten to my husband that when I am over something, I will chuck it into the lake.
Nice.
Sometimes this is the cats that I want to chuck into the lake. Like when they scream at 5 a.m., I want to chuck them into the lake. And in fact, sometimes fantasize about the sound they would make as they sailed over the railing. Yeah.
The
You didn't know
lake.
I was that bad, did you?
Yeah, that's dark, and there's just something more. There's something more to the lake about an object or a creature sinking down, as opposed to like just get out the window. Like no. There's a lake
You know what?
there.
I think I know what should happen here. I think the best results would be if you were to pack up the printer and mail it to me, and then I will chuck it into the lake for you and film it as it takes its descent to the bottom of the lake. I will not throw the cats off, so don't worry about that. But I will throw the printer.
Yeah. Imagine a world where there's a button on the printer that says scan. And you push the button and it's like, no.
Well, one thing that bothers me, and I used to feel bad about this, like very, like you're saying, basic things have become very, very complicated. And I am old enough to remember when things weren't really that way. And so like the way I've seen this exhibited in my game taste was like I started gaming on an Atari as a child and then more seriously as a teenager on the NES. And, you know, it's a controller with what, 7 buttons, you know, whatever.
1, 2, 3, 4. I mean,
is it even 7? It's the D-pad as a button.
Is the D-pad a button?
1, 2,
D-pad
3,
is
4,
like
5?
is 4 buttons.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, things were very simple. And does that mean that like things are only good when they're simple? No. But like sometimes when I go to play a game and the game utilizes literally every button on a controller that has shoulder buttons, trigger buttons for, you know, right side buttons, 2 different sticks, 2 different, like, I will not lie. Sometimes like my brain is like, why do I have to remember all this? And, you know, I have a brain that doesn't remember things well as well. But like, I feel like everything is so much more overly complex than it needs to be, especially in relationship to technology.
But if it serves the game or it serves the art or the function, you know, some games are complex and they require more time or more learning or more muscle memory, you know, then it, you know, sometimes, every now and then I'm like, oh man, like shoulder buttons are quite an innovation because you can press a trigger while moving or while pressing another button. That's quite unbelievable because imagine if you had a Nintendo controller and a game developer is like, well, we need more buttons to do more things, so let's put 20 more buttons on the front. Well, it's like I can't press those buttons while also pressing other buttons, so ergonomically that actually doesn't work, you know. Right. So I don't know where the shoulder, but you know, they probably began with the SNES. I assume maybe I don't know if they came earlier than that.
I think that was, unless I don't know what was on the Famicom, but I'm pretty sure that, that was the era that was around. But even that didn't bother me that much, you know? And it's like, you know, am I automatically going to chuck a game out the window because it uses all those buttons? No, I'm not. This is just something that like I'm aware of. And I think it maybe makes me like, you know, an old.
Maybe. Well, but I guess I'm, you know, but a scanner that is made to scan and has a button that says scan shouldn't have 40 other steps
to do scanning,
especially when it's been scanning for 8 months or whatever, however long we've had this printer.
Right.
That's needless complication for the abuse of people's users' privacy and ads and all this other shit. So,
and it makes you go, I don't want to use this product ever again because this is a pain in the ass. And like, there's plenty of other printers in the world, you know?
That your hardware business is so shitty, or you're not selling enough stuff that you also need to monetize my data and my privacy as well as sell me a TV and a print. Like that's a layer.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because like, and I have this conversation often with my husband where, you know, like I see people around me getting angry about, oh, I can't believe that, you know, this device does this, or, oh my gosh, it records this or whatever. And it's like, you've been carrying a fucking cell phone around for over a decade that like is basically a tracking device. Like, did you not know that already? So when like someone gets real aggro about a new thing, I'm always just like, we tell ourselves, right? Or, maybe we don't. Maybe some people don't tell themselves, but like, we tell ourselves, oh yeah, like this is cool. Everything's fine. This is, like, I think that we have been like walking, talking, like, products for a while now, and that could be a whole show, and it would be very dark, and we probably
yeah.
I mean, we should just chuck the cats into the lake, and if we're gonna have that conversation,
just chuck them. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today, but before we get into this week's Sony presentation,
just warped your brain.
Yes, thank you. Before we get there, before we talk about what we've been playing, you and I have been discussing a little, I don't know, what do you call
it?
An experiment is a good word. Why was I going to say heist? I don't know. Heist is not. We're not stealing anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a heist. I think
shenanigans.
I think yes. Yeah, perhaps shenanigans, perhaps a controlled experiment of fun.
Well, I like that.
A controlled fun experiment. Yeah.
All right, so I will set the stage, and you can elaborate here. We had been thinking about, we should both play the same game to discuss it, or perhaps we could all play a game with members of our listener and Discord community, and everyone could kind of, if everyone owned it or could buy in, we could all play the same game, and then that could be a discussion topic for the show. And then one of us said, there are Steam randomizing websites where you just put in some criteria and you hit go, and a random ass game from Steam's catalog will spit out, and then you can say, this is what a ridiculous game. Or you could say, whoa, I've never heard of this game. This actually looks kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so we said, what if we live on the show, go to a Steam randomizer, put in these criteria, hit go, and assuming certain criteria are met, you and I must commit to purchasing this game, playing it for some length of time, not necessarily to its end credits, and then coming back to talk about it. And given the breadth of Steam's library, I think we're in for a really bad time.
As long as we don't come across the famed Gilson B. Pontes games, which, if we've never had that conversation...
What is that?
Awesome. Okay, I'm so happy you've never heard about this.
Please.
Okay. So this was before I was a more recent PC owner, I should say. And therefore, the majority of my browsing for new games was usually on the PlayStation Store, on my PS4.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I would be looking through the games, and I was like, okay. And then like I'd come across a game and be like, what? Is this the worst game ever made? Is this the worst game ever made? And so I'd be like,
unplayed. You're just looking at screenshots. You're looking at a video or something.
The video is just like, like the video is just, and you're like, okay, that's a game. But he didn't just make one game. I think he's made, I'm referring to the internet.
This is a single person who is a developer, or is it a studio?
It could be. Oh no, I think it's probably a person. I don't know for sure, but it's mystery. It's just Gilson B. Pontes. So Gilson B. Pontes has actually made many games. Mm-hmm. Then you come to find out that he is not only the creator of the excellent Samael, the Legacy of Ohitchifus, and Sword of Fortress, the Oni Musum, but he also
Sword
made
of Fortress,
Tashogun, the Rise of Emperor Director, and Spear of Destiny, the Kaiseki Director. And you're like, okay, it looks like he's using the same engine. I don't recognize it, but
Yeah.
like you can go on Reddit and like find threads to people that are like, to Gilson B. Pontes, stop putting your abysmal games on the PSN store. Like, why are you doing this? Like, people that are mad at him. Or
is there
them.
a cult? Right. Is there a cult following? Is this a The Room situation where it's so bad that it is funny and ironic to then play or make fun of these?
Not that I know of. I think they're just bad. You know, but I do know that that at my old coworker, Jim Sterling, who I believe is now going under the name James Stephanie, so I want to make sure I get that right. They actually like found Gilson's games and has like made hilarious videos about them, and Gilson responded by trying to get their YouTube channel taken down.
Yes. Oh, I didn't realize that was that kerfuffle. I am aware of that. Yes.
Yes. That's how that saucy thing does. It's so hard to not say Jim. So I should say
right. I know, especially because you know it.
Yes.
What are the preferred pronouns right now? Do we know? Do they or she go by Stephanie at this point? Am I misremembering?
I only know that the current name is James Stephanie Sterling, so I really need to do my homework on that. But
sure.
That said, they did a top 10 like shittiest games of the year like video every year. So every year since the first time of Gilson B. Pontes released a game. Spear of Destiny was the first game, and like basically all the games involve the player like running for a long time through a game world that's basically like bereft of content. And then they'll eventually bump into an enemy and get like killed by it in one hit.
I may have seen some of Sterling's coverage of this. So
So
this is now all ringing a bell.
Yeah, the best way to, and I guess it's still on the current PlayStation Store, the best way to discover the vast terribleness that is Gilson B. Pontes is to go to the PlayStation Store and look up Epic Adventure Bundle, which I'm assuming he came up with his own name there. And
then you can get them all? Like you get them all in one pack?
You can get only two. Only two of the games will be available to you. I don't see the price. I'm looking on my phone. But in this bundle, you can get Sword of Fortress, the Onamuzum, and Spear of Destiny, the Kaiseki, which features epic battles, support HDR, dynamic weather, amazing graphics, and a gigantic environment. These are PS4 games, so you'd still have to have a PS4. But yeah. So anyway, if none of you know who Gilson B. Pontes is, the last name is Pontes, and we should probably include a link in the show notes so you can discover their game making history,
their catalog.
But anyway, but you know, sometimes we will say if a game is really, really terrible, we will say that's the Gilson B. Pontes original.
It's Gilson level.
Yes, exactly.
Is this
Gilson ass game?
Is this some masterful trolling? Meaning, I have had the pleasure of covering some of this in other like internet dimensions. Are you familiar with Chuck Tingle at all?
Oh yes. Oh my God.
Okay.
Chuck Tingle, a god.
Chuck Tingle is a god. And he's a genius. And when we got to talk to him, we really could not tell if he was really like that or if he is playing a character at all times and writing, you know, for anyone who's not familiar, writing very popular erotic fiction that makes no sense. It is about dinosaurs having sex with aliens, but it is so it is so like boundary pushing and so obtuse that it's that his whole message is about like inclusion and accepting people and things like that, but it's so funny. The best analogy I can draw is like Andy Kaufman, the comedian from the 70s, who like no one really knew who he was because he was always playing a character, and even Andy Kaufman the character then played other characters. And I don't mean in television shows, I mean like in real life he was a character. And so Chuck Tingle is like the Andy Kaufman of erotic fan fiction. And so is this game developer really making epic games that suck, or is they like trolling everyone here?
Yeah,
what is
I don't
going
know.
on?
I mean, I will say this: if it is trolling, it's a lot of work.
But that's the best trolling.
Like if you put out one terrible game.
But
like,
if you're just using like a game maker engine and reusing the same shitty assets over and over again, and you call one Spear of Destiny and the other one Sword of Fortress, like how much more work is there to do there? I don't know. I'm not a game developer.
Yeah, I don't know either. But now you know that that people think of him as the Uwe Boll of the video game industry, and now you know. So go look up Gilson B. Pontes, and this has been a special message from Coco B.
Well, so in our grand experiment here, I want to reiterate that we may end up with a dice roll here that will lead us to a game similar to that.
Yes.
And what we are saying here is, unless it's like a VR game, or it won't run on certain computers, or it's way too expensive,
we
are saying here and now, we must commit to playing it, and we must commit to playing, a decent amount so that we can talk about it. And review is a strong word, but we will talk about it on the next discussion. But wait, there's more. Go ahead.
Oh, there's me. I'm going to talk about things.
Yeah, you're a host of the show.
Well, I suppose that there's the part where we talked about how we would like to actually give a game away to a member of our community, or members of our community, depending upon what we pick.
Mm-hmm. So the plan will be, again, unless this is like a $20 game or a $60 or whatever, as long as the price is within constraints, we will figure out a way. We will commit to the game today, right now, live, quote unquote, on this recording. And then once this episode publishes, we will figure out a way to share the game in the Discord. And then if everyone who reacts or responds to that giveaway, we will then randomize those entries, and we'll say 1, 2, 5, however many we can afford to give away. We will gift the game to those people. You, the listener, will play the game with us and then talk about it when we come back for the discussion. And maybe that's, you're writing a paragraph in Discord, maybe you're sending us an email about your experience. And again, this could be the worst game you've ever played, or this could be a hidden gem that we all discover together. We will not know until the end of this episode. So, don't touch that dial, as the kids say, from 1974.
Love it. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it. But first, we have a little bit of, news to discuss. So let's get into it. You have some thoughts about a Sony interactive PlayStation presentation that might have just happened.
So the thing is that I wanted to take a little nap before the show tonight. So at 6 p.m., I was like, okay, I have an hour and a half. I am going to take a little, disco nap, as they called them. When I used to go out a lot, you would take a disco nap at midnight, get up at 1 and go out. Yep.
In the 70s, right, when we used to go out
to the disco, right?
To go to the okay, sure.
So I woke up and I was like, cool, I have 30 minutes. And I came in here, got my stuff, got my water, sat down, got comfy. And then let me check the Discord. There's a whole bunch of notifications. And I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot there was going to be a PlayStation showcase today. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. So, obviously not all of the games that were talked about. And also, just to be completely transparent, I have not watched every trailer yet because I didn't have time. But I did, of course, immediately be like, oh, wow, KOTOR is a big deal to be remade. That was such a beloved game. I didn't play it personally, but it's one of those ones where I'm going, oh, maybe now I can discover, because I missed it the first time around, what all the amazingness was about,
Yep. Same.
So that was definitely exciting for me. I have had 37 boners for Ghostwire Tokyo since the minute it was announced. So of everything in the list, I literally trembled and clicked on that as quickly as possible. And I am insanely excited. Everything about the setting is so my jam. And the gameplay looks great. I'm really excited to see a little bit more of it. But what I thought was the biggest standout was that, and this is maybe something that I have an eye for, over time. Also, I'm, married to an Asian person, but the protagonist is Asian, and I assume Japanese because it's taking place in Tokyo. And one thing that I've, seen in the last 10 years or so is, just as we've seen more inclusivity and more racial representation in movies and television, and we're seeing it more in games too, I'm noticing. And I do think that, interestingly enough, if you roll back in the history of games, there actually is a little bit more overall representation, more diverse casts in a lot of earlier games than I really thought about at the time, because I wasn't thinking about that at the time.
Interesting. Meaning games were more inclusive than film and TV? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that how you're saying?
I don't want to say more. I want to say that when I look back from this current vantage point, I'm like, oh, wow, there was this and this and this, with the exception of brown people as protagonists, which to this day, every time I play a brown or black person as a protagonist, I'm visually kind of reminded that that's such a rare experience that I haven't had often, and it's so nice to have that experience. So usually, unless you are playing a game where you are a samurai or something, you're probably not playing an Asian person. Your regular protagonist, no special powers, no cloud strife with a giant sword. I'm just talking about a guy. And when I saw that it was, in fact, a man, and an Asian man that was well illustrated, I was like, wow, this is really cool. You're not just a white guy in Tokyo having this experience. You're actually, I'm assuming, a native. So I definitely notice stuff like that. And it's always exciting for me to see more Asian protagonists. So that is a thrill for me, definitely.
I have additional questions, and we've talked a little bit about it. Ghostwire, is this Square Enix, or am I confused? Who's making it? It's obviously a Japanese studio that's making Ghostwire Tokyo, and I can look it up.
Actually, I'm not sure. I will look and tell you, but Tango Gameworks, don't know who they are.
Oh, published by Bethesda?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Bethesda's the publisher, but Tango is the creator, and I don't.
Okay, this is why. So it is a Japanese studio, founded in 2010 by someone from Capcom. So I recall people being excited about this because it was like, oh, it's this person's game, or it's someone known in the industry. So again, Japanese auteur or whatever, and a Japanese studio making a game about Japan. So there damn well better be a Japanese protagonist in there.
Well, actually, yes, you're right. Also that. But also, I think for me, it makes sense for them to make a game, that is that is takes place in their native country. But like for me, I think it's kind of we just don't see a lot of Asian protagonists like in gaming that are not like samurai.
Right. But my question, which I have already posed to you in other forms, is like the a huge portion. I mean, dare I say, like half of the video game industry is Japanese, made by Japan. And you mentioned Cloud Strife, and it's like some of the biggest games ever are made by Japanese creators, and they depict what we perceive as white people. I mean, all the characters in Final Fantasy VII, for example, appear to be Western people with I mean, I know it's localized, but like, I don't know. You know, it's hard to get past that sometimes, and so it's like, hey, why aren't there more Asian protagonists? It's like, well, why couldn't Cloud have been Asian? Or is he Asian? Because, you know, we've talked about this, that anime sort of looks white to us, but isn't he necessarily meant to be? So
yeah,
I don't know.
I would go as far as to say that like when you're playing like say Final Fantasy 15 or whatever, that like a lot of the characters that people think of as like the pretty boy characters, you know, which I mean, I'd say Cloud is one of them. Like, yeah, he has blonde hair, but like that kind of appearance is definitely an appearance that Asian culture really favors, and so do I. But yeah, so that, you know, that's a part of that whole picture too. But you know, it does dovetail into something else that I often think about, which is that you know, should a non-American creator be able to tell a story about American or white characters? Should a white creator be able to tell a story featuring Asian characters? And I can't remember if this is something we talked about when we touched on it before, but about how in the publishing industry, the book industry, there was a big thing going around, and probably is still going around, that it's like you cannot write like you remember the movie / book Memoirs of a Geisha?
Yes.
That was written by a white man, which like made a huge like wave. In fact, like he never wrote again after writing that award-winning book. And like that kind of, I think, might have been one of the root causes at which it was like, okay, if you're not an Asian person, you can't write from the perspective of an Asian person, or you can't write an Asian person in your book / movie / game / whatever.
Right.
So that's like a super fraught, controversial topic in the publishing world.
Yeah, and in all art, and it should be discussed, and it should be brought to the forefront. I guess what I would love to see, and I think you'll be with me on this, is sort of like, you know, a Japanese publisher making a game about Japan with a Japanese protagonist. Cool. Like that makes a ton of sense. What we probably really need is any publisher making a game about America, or just making a game about a fantasy world where the races don't matter, except we choose to put an Asian or a minority protagonist in as the player character, just because it doesn't matter where it takes place. We just said, well, we could have done another white guy, or you know what, we're gonna and this will also dovetail into the Forspoken trailer in a moment, and I'm excited about that. Everything so I think we need more of that also. And then I'm very fascinated by what you said about the authorship and who can write for whom. I always think of the musical West Side Story, which is about Puerto Rican gangs in New York in the 50s or whenever it takes place. And many of the songs are in Spanish. It is about Latin American culture. It is about the rivalries and the inner city workings of New York at that time, written by Leonard Bernstein, a Jewish guy from Massachusetts. And it is one of the most important and beloved musicals of the 20th century. And without it, we would be missing something important. And yet, if someone like that wrote that today, they would be canceled off the planet Earth.
Right. Yep. And that is, this is a conversation that I've had with many people in many different varieties. It's tough. Like, I, at the time of the release of Memoirs of a Geisha, read and loved it. And like at the time, the man that wrote it, Arthur Golden, he did extensive research with geisha to ensure that the product he created was true to their experience, which like, as a writer, I think, well, if I, for instance, have an Asian character in my book, but then I ask an Asian friend to be like a sensitivity reader for me and just read it and make sure that like it doesn't read weird, or I'm not doing something, ostensibly white and terrible, I would do that. Right. But like, should we as creatives be barred from ever having anyone other than who, like whatever race we are in our work? And I mean, I feel like the answer is no, but for instance, like I'm definitely not going to write a novel from the first person perspective of, a survivor of the Holocaust. Like, could you? I mean, surely someone could, researched enough, maybe, but like I guess my line is, if the thing I'm creating is purporting to understand someone's trauma that came with their race, I'm not touching it.
That's exactly right. That is very well said. And adding one additional slice to it, context matters, right? The intention of the work and the way it is presented matters. So can you have an Asian character in your book? Of course you can. Can you write from the perspective of an Asian American immigrant? No. You can't. And that's makes sense to me. What do I know?
Yeah. It's an interesting topic, though. Like this is something that I do really enjoy discussing with people on the whole, just because, and I have a writing group that's pretty active that like we've had long versions of this conversation. And there are people that are like, I like you said, West Side Story would not exist. Books like Memoirs of a Geisha would not exist. Many things would not exist. So that's a thing. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have a solution. I'll tell you that much.
Well, and there's a larger solution is a tough word, but there's a larger picture here. If we fast forward in time, if we zoom back out, whereas like, we not only need to stop writing other people's stories, but we need to elevate the people who can write those stories so that, let's say West Side Story never existed. Is there a Latin American writer, composer, musician who, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, probably he did write the West Side Story of our time, In the Heights and other things. So, making the space available for those people, and the resources and the education and the economic equality to allow them to be part of the cultural output is what this work is all about, I suppose.
Right. And I will say this, sometimes, people I think don't understand the outrage or like, oh, this person, you should be able to write what you want, blah, blah, blah. But for me, I do think that a product of the outrage is that I am now having experiences in my gaming life where I'm like, wow, I'm playing a brown person. Wow. And realizing like on an almost kind of visceral level that I don't have the experience of playing a brown person almost ever in my gaming history.
Yep.
It's stuff to think about,
I think about it with kids too, because you watch media, like you see your own kids watching media and you see them even reading books. Like my kids started school today and my son was going to kindergarten for the first time. And I think my wife was reading like a first day of kindergarten book or whatever it was that sort of like make sure your kid is not feeling nervous or whatever. And it's a lovely book. I don't remember exactly what it is or what it's called, but like on the cover is like a boy and a girl and they're just happen to both be white. And I don't think the book is old. It's just like, so I often pause and think about it and be like, what if you are a brown person or a black person or a black kid who just does not see themselves in the like children's media and children's literature? And I'm not, this is a very common topic. They're just not like, I don't know. You and I growing up as white kids and white people, like you look at a television and you see people who are like you, and imagine if there was no one like you on television or in books. Like, that sucks. It's absolutely crazy to think about that.
I will tell you that I experience what I would call like a almost B-side version of that as a woman who is not thin, and that I have been thin in the past. And I don't want to make all this about my weight, but like, women have such fixation on their physical appearance and their youth and their weight and their attractiveness that I really realized about 6 or 7 years ago when the body positivity movement was starting to come in, and slowly, because of the explosion around that, now you see, plus size models not in the plus size section, but sometimes, like, I think Old Navy just announced that they now carry up to size 18. And like, a lot of things that you see is like, you see a thin woman or a thin mannequin, and then you see like a larger woman mannequin next to them. And that's like normal. And I really realized looking at those models, looking at those images, like I felt like something in me kind of uncoiled. And I was just like, oh, like there's a body that looks like my body, and maybe that's okay. Because before that, and when every model and every mannequin was a 4, it's like, I can't say that everyone in the world has this experience, but I can say for sure for myself that, you look at that and you go, well, why don't I look like that? What is it? It's not okay that I don't look like that, right?
Or it's like this size and shape that's on display is the correct version, and we also have these other versions and sizes, but like this is the real one that we're going to show in the catalogs and the mannequins. And you're an adult who is now sort of reconciling that over time, but imagine the subconscious impact that kids can benefit from today by seeing both of those mannequins or the variety of models, or that's extraordinary. I think
about it for the generation of young women that's growing up right now, that maybe many of them are thin right now and they won't always be, and they don't maybe have to feel so bad about that if that's the case. Or maybe there are women, and for that matter, men too. Like, I mean, this could extend to men, and I know this conversation is getting so far off of games, so I should probably curb it. But at any rate, all this is very, very interesting to me. So Colette and Matt have entered the serious conversation.
It's another chat. Well, let's bring it back to, I think it does connect directly back to Forspoken, which is an upcoming Square Enix game. I mean, like, I don't know, like, this doesn't look or sound or feel like a Square game, so I'm impressed that they're really busting out of their typical boundaries.
Well, it's funny. I find personally that like some of the freshest, most interesting concepts that I'm seeing are published by the names that I've long known, but are created by another studio that's
maybe it is another studio.
It is. It's called Luminous Productions, and I was like, okay. I've never heard of this. And I actually hadn't, and, do not keep up with gaming news, but as much as, I used to at one point in time. So our Discord is very helpful for that. But like, like right off the bat, to not only be like, wow, this is really interesting looking, but then also to be like, oh, and there is a non-white protagonist. That's exciting. But like, what otherwise, like, I'm totally intrigued by what happens in this trailer because I was unaware of the game. And then I was like, whoa, what is happening?
Yeah. There was a previous trailer or some early footage that was like, oh, it's a fantasy game where you do cool, you have cool spells and you're fighting monsters. But then there was something about that early footage that was like, wait a minute, like this is like a black woman from New York, or she's American. She's not supposed to be in this fantasy world. And
Right.
now subsequent trailer and footage has shown that she moves through a portal. I'm pretty sure she's from New York based on this new trailer, because you kind of see, I think you see like the Holland Tunnel or something, where she
like she sees that when the portal opens up, and then she's in this now. And I will say this, it might not necessarily look like a square game up until she gets through that tunnel, and when she's standing like up on like that amazing big like gigantic building, I was like, and she looks over and I was like, oh, that's a square landscape though. Or at least it looked like it to me. But I mean, regardless, right, it's like, wow. And like the big like coiled like gold bracelet thing, like what? It's so beautiful too. Oh my gosh, like
it's very beautiful.
I am very excited.
It's so kinetic, and it's funny because
it looks fun.
Looks like movement wise, it looks very fun. She acquires some sort of powers, and then she's incredibly agile, not flying, but zipping through the air and spinning and stuff. And actually, there have been some comparisons to Warframe's movement, because in Warframe you have this agility that gets you into a flow. If you jump and double jump and spin and tap at the right moments, you can kind of corkscrew through the air, and you can keep doing it. So if nothing's in your way, you can go zoo, zoo, zoo. You can zip through levels.
Fun.
And that, like, it's not floatiness. Floatiness is you don't want floatiness. You want this very tactile, agile movement. And this game really has it. And just beautiful. I watched it on my phone earlier today, and I've seen footage of the game previously. The gameplay looks amazing.
It does. It really does.
The protagonist looks like she is awesome. She seems like an awesome character. I was kind of like disappointed with the character models and the cutscene. Like, this is supposed to be a PS5, PC, current gen, knock your socks off thing. And the NPCs and even the main character looked like plastic Skyrim people. And I was like, really? Oh, I was let down by that. Perhaps I need to watch it on a larger screen and really get in there and look at the pixels. But I don't know. I was a little disappointed there. Obviously, a work in progress. It's looking like spring 2022 is the target, which is
they may be nowhere near their final finish. But I mean, her face it looks great to me. And I say that because I feel like faces are always like the defining thing for me in a game. Like, it's the hardest thing to get right, like the eyes. But like there's a scene near the end. Actually, I just pulled it up and I'm kind of like rewatching it right now as we're talking about it. I don't really have an issue with the faces. So
maybe I need to go back and look. It could have just been my phone, not showing all the details.
I mean, it also could be because just a few minutes ago we were talking about Gilson B. Pontes, and I was thinking about how everything looks compared to a Gilson B. Pontes game.
This looks great compared to Sword of Destiny.
Oh my gosh, good times. Anyway, so we will have to keep an eye out for that one. That was definitely completely new news to me. So I love when I'm like, oh, I've somehow missed this. Like, looks really, really cool.
It hasn't been grabbing headlines. It popped at something, E3, Gamescom, whatever it was last year. I was like, whoa, this looks cool. And then never heard about it again. And now here it is again. So, and again, a long way off. So we'll keep an eye on it. What else? Was there anything else from this list that caught your attention besides KOTOR?
I did not get a chance to. Well, actually, let me back up for a second. I'm super freaking excited about Alan Wake. And here's the thing. Alan Wake, when it came out, had to me, really big kind of like Stephen King novel vibes. Just the way it's narrated. And at the time, you were playing a game that was kind of like, the way they framed the game was like, it was like a television show. And obviously, this is Remedy. Like, Remedy is easily one of my absolute favorite game companies. But it's interesting. I feel like this game is so smart, terrific terrific writing. Sam Lake's like all his storytelling just like floors me, honestly. Like, but so at the time that it came out, it was an Xbox exclusive. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I can't play this unless I borrow an Xbox. And so I literally like asked my friends until I found someone that was willing to lend me an Xbox just so I could play this game. And I don't regret it. Like, it was just a terrific game, but I didn't finish it because I couldn't finish it in time before I needed to return the friend's Xbox. So it's been like one of those things that's always like sat on me like, oh God, like, I'm so annoyed I never finished that, you know? It was such a fascinating game. And I read like the ending on, on the Wikipedia, because eventually I was like, well, when am I going to get back to it? And now I'm like, oh my God, I can get back to it. And it also looks like so nice. Like, speaking of faces, that was a game that definitely like, the faces, I forget what the release year was, but like, the faces definitely were like, you could tell that it was like done at a past time. I've seen some like in the trailer that they dropped today, like there's some really nice like cleanup on the faces. They're not perfect, I can see they're not going to completely and absolutely like rehaul every single one of those pieces overall. But it's just nice to see it looking so crisp and clean, and like, and I know Remedy well, like they've grown so much as a developer as well. Like, I mean, Control is a fucking like masterclass, in like a beautiful game and a good game too. Great storytelling. So yeah, I'm just really, really excited to like play it from beginning to end on a modern console and like kind of experience it all over again. It's got a pretty strong fandom around it. Like, people have been like, excited about the idea of playing, like people still to this day ask for new Alan Wake games. So I did know about it before this because I follow Sam Lake on Twitter, and I saw his announcement and I was like, oh my God. But
it is on Steam, and this was, I never owned an Xbox, so I also, and I'm not really, I never sought out horror. This is a third person. Is it action, or is it more of an adventure kind of mystery, search 'em up kind of thing?
What's going on? I would call it supernatural action.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to put it. So it starts with a crackerjack premise that is really, really great. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who's unfamiliar, but yeah, like it definitely
doesn't look bad. The original, unless it's been sort of updated or polished up for PC, if this is the original, it looks pretty okay. And I also do love that. I believe it was some lore in Control, or a DLC in Control, that basically confirmed that Control and Alan Wake
are connected, yes.
Take place in the same was definitely cinematic
like
universe.
A total like fandom splooge. Like,
that
I was just like,
nice.
That's so exciting.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
Without, as you know, I did not finish Control, and I have no context for Alan Wake. And so my question there, without saying any spoilers, if you can avoid them, but like, when we learned that, did it like make sense? Like, does it make sense for the supernatural things in those two games to exist simultaneously? Or is it just kind of like, hey, this is cool.
No,
we're throwing you a bone.
Sam Lake is not that kind of storyteller. I actually he's easily one of my like most respected like gaming writers.
Okay.
His writing is inventive, fascinating. It gives you ideas that you may have never thought of, or things you may have never imagined. But yeah, he never has done shabby work in my experience of his games. So yeah, no, it makes sense to me. And I was like, oh, good. That's so cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I loved it. Definitely loved it.
Was he the writer of Control? Like, is that his brainchild? Okay.
Remedy has pretty much, like, Sam has pretty much been like behind all of Remedy's major releases since Max Payne. Actually, you know what? Right, I just realized it could maybe be earlier than that, and I could be wrong. But and let me tell you, like, when I was like doing gaming coverage and stuff, and I think it was actually when you know what? Oh, it was when Alan Wake was in its early promotion. And I actually remember I didn't interview Sam, I interviewed one of the people that was like doing the PR for the game at the time. I think it was maybe 2008 or 2009. But like, holy shit, the nicest fucking people. Like, Sam Lake is Finnish. Like, you know, just definitely like some different kind of thinking too, I think, like coming from the entire studio. And also, if you've ever played Max Payne, Sam Lake's likeness is Max Payne. Like if you know what Max Payne looks like, that's Sam Lake. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I just actually looked quickly because I was curious, and his first writing thing he did was a game called Death Rally, which I have never touched or seen. And then after that, he started writing the Max Payne games in 2001, wrote Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2, and then the Alan Wake games, Quantum Break, and then Control.
Oh yeah, Quantum. Right. Okay. Right. Quantum Break kind of came and went. I remember. I remember working. I did not review it, but I remember working with someone who was reviewing it. They were like, "It's a fun, cool shooter from Remedy," but that was about all. But then it didn't really deliver. They had some big like talent in that, if I recall, too. Like some Game of Thrones actors were in Quantum Break, or
I think so. And I know that Sam was the executive producer. He did not write Quantum Break, but like I feel like when you're playing a Sam Lake game and he wrote it, you can tell.
You know it.
To me, like he has a really standout type of style.
That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, I love him, and I also really, really love Remedy, and I'm so excited about playing Alan Wake. Yay!
Great. Well, did they drop a release date? What's the? I've not been following the timeline on that.
He just tweeted about it. Like, I think it's October. Let me see, October.
Oh, so like
October 5th. It's soon.
So coming soon. Yes, that's great.
Yes,
good for the fans. Enjoy. That's exciting.
Also,
great.
I just realized when I ran to the Twitter page that Sam Lake follows me, and that makes me so happy.
What? Really? Wow. That's awesome. Well, what are we doing? Let's get him on the show. DM.
Oh my God, I would die. Like, I don't even think I could like talk that well. Like, I would just be like, I would sound like, you know, those like starry-eyed schoolgirls in the anime where like the crush is in the room and they're just like, I can't talk to senpai.
You got to try. That's your homework. Send that DM.
Oh man. Oh.
Report in later.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. Good stuff coming out. Anything else cooking there? Because this is a lot of PS5 stuff that, unless it will be coming also to PC, that it is inaccessible to me or may not be for a long time. Forspoken will be PC and PS5, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's like day and date or what. Weirdly, Knights of the Old Republic remake, which I really didn't. I guess that was known, but I was not aware of it. This is like a PS5 exclusive for some time, maybe a year, which is cool, I guess. But like, it was originally a PC game by BioWare, and it is just strange to me that the studio that made it is not making the remaster, and the platform it was on is not going to be the platform it's going to be on. It's just, I don't know. It's like it's such a venerated game, and so many people have played it in various forms. But it's like, oh, really? So you're not? It's not going to be for the PC gamers who have always played and loved this game. Okay, cool. I guess we'll wait a year. It's just strange.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. That's wild. That is really wild.
And if Sony just paid a buttload of money to say, yes, lots of people will want this game and they will buy it here and they will buy it. Like, I get it. I get why that stuff happens.
I just realized how convenient and lovely it is that, in fact, we have all these games to gush over, since this week I literally did not play anything because Evangelion, which all of the conversation about that is in our Discord. But
it's one of those that I might one day take the journey that you might be on now, which is sort of going back and watching it and understanding why this is such a beloved franchise and not like a series and whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you watching all the stuff in order from the 80s, like
Yep,
or
I
isn't there
watched-
like a condensed version?
Well, kind of, sort of, but not exactly. So there's a 26 episode show. It was only one season.
Okay.
Then after that, there are a couple of movies that were also made in that time period. And as you may already know, the show was extremely controversial for the ending, which I'm not going to get into here because it would take too long to try to explain. And then they decided to make a modern series of movies, which I originally thought were going to be a retelling. And it seems like maybe they started as that, but then kind of turned into something else. And I don't really know the details of what that something else led to. So I can't get too far into it, but basically the creator decided to make a quote unquote for a movie remake. And then I think it kind of grew into maybe being able to finally tell the story in full the way he wanted to the first time. It's famous that he had a severe battle with depression during the making of the show. And that may have factored into some of the decisions made at that time. But I will say that even with those flaws, like for me personally, there's something unforgettable about it. Like I love going back to that kind of like the anime of the era that I started watching anime. But yeah, there's something about it that's really definitely like stuck with me in a way that I might have to say no other anime has quite hit. So I have finished the interim movies, the 90s movies, and I'm actually planning on starting the series of 4 movies, the more modern ones. The first one came out I think in 2005, and so since then he's been working on like this series of 4 movies. So I have 4 more movies to watch, the modern ones, and then I will be completely up to date with all of like the main canon stuff. But I'm really enjoying it, like like much more than I really expected, actually. So it's been fun. But yeah, TLDR, I haven't played any games this week.
Yeah, I have 2 brief questions because we may not want to stick with this stuff too heavy. But one is, if I have no nostalgia and for that era or that show in particular, and a very shallow palette for anime, I really respect it. I appreciate it. And there's a handful of series and titles that I really love, but I don't have a breadth of knowledge. So my question is, would I appreciate it as much as you do, diving in just totally cold to an important anime series from the 80s,
I would say that this is not a show for a person with a shallow anime palette, not because you need a knowledge of other anime, but because for a person with a pretty fucking extensive palette, like Evangelion is very dark and very depressing, and then the ending is very difficult, and like it's brilliant in my opinion, but it's just difficult. And then like after you get that ending, even if you think that ending was brilliant, another part of you's like, yeah, but I didn't get this, this, and this, and then you're going to get sucked into why all the efforts to remake the ending is maybe not quite the right way of putting it, but
address it.
Well, the movie End of Evangelion, which came out I think a year or 2 after the movie, actually depicted a completely different ending. So there are 2 endings, which the creator has said neither is canon. I mean, like it's got such story about it. You know what I mean? Like it's just got so much around it that like it's a fascinating piece of culture to dive into. But
that's
like,
why,
if
I'm
you're
I'm not scared of that.
If you're like, it's a giant robot show, I swear it looks like a giant robot show, but it's really actually not. Like those are like the set decoration.
Totally,
that's the best way for me to put it.
That's the mark of a great thing, that it is more than it presents itself to be. And I think you're answering my second question, which is when you say the ending was controversial, you mean like controversial among fans in the context of the story, not controversial like in the world. It wasn't like, whoa, that was not appropriate, or you know what I mean? Like controversial in the fandom, right?
Yeah, definitely in the fandom. But I mean, those are the people that were the ones consuming it in the first place. So I mean,
Yeah, of course.
To me, it's like a quote unquote, it got a big response, a negative response from some at the time. To those who saw it. So, but I mean, you also have to consider that Evangelion is like one of the biggest and most like one of the biggest money makers of all time. Up there with, Pokemon and all that stuff. But like, it is, the most enduring anime and like kind of like a synonymous symbol of Japan, I think. So, I just wanted to know,
it's interesting you say
like?
that. Yeah. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I would challenge that a little bit, because Pokemon is like Walt Disney. You know what I mean? Like that brand reaches my children somehow. But even when I perceive Evangelion, I understand it to be like, oh, it's a very popular and influential anime from a time, but like I don't see people wearing T-shirts around the neighborhood.
Right.
You know what I mean? The way other brands are.
That's an excellent point. Like, you can talk to a person who knows nothing about games and they might know what Pikachu is, for instance. Exactly. It has made... Actually, yeah. You know what? I think a better way to put it is that it is one of the highest grossing media franchises of all time. Is actually, no, it's the 28th highest grossing media franchise of all time, bigger than The Simpsons, SpongeBob, and Star Trek.
Big. So we must be talking about an insanely big international.
Toys.
Really?
Toys. Yeah.
But again, like, it must be bigger in Japan and elsewhere than it is here, right? Like, how could it? Okay.
Yeah, much.
Okay.
According to this, actually, the number one franchise of all time in total revenue is Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon is the king.
Pokemon, Hello Kitty, Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse, Star Wars. Those are the very, very, very top.
Yes, and I was all of those things make sense, and then I'm like, Winnie the fucking Pooh is on that list. Like Mickey Mouse is not on the list, but Winnie the Pooh. And I could not get my head around that. And then I was in a store and every fucking baby thing you could ever imagine has Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh on it. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's fascinating to think about that. Actually, from a media perspective, from a news perspective, like I find this fascinating and information I didn't know. Like this is an infographic I would enjoy, for instance. Like these are the top, and I don't know how current this list is, for instance. Like if this is on Wikipedia, so we always know that could possibly have changed or not be accurate or whatever. But
mostly, like there are nerds who care deeply about making sure that information is right, and even if it's not right, someone out there is going to be like, oh no, we gotta fix
interesting
that.
Though to realize that Pokemon is significantly bigger than Star Wars. Estimated 68.7 billion total revenue US dollars, according to whenever date this was done. I'm looking at it on my phone, but Star Wars 68.7 billion, Pokemon 105 billion.
Pokemon is I don't know who I was saying this to recently. It is the ultimate transmedia thing. Because it is for kids, but adults also love it. It's cute enough for kids to get hooked, but adults also love it. It is a card game, but it perhaps even more importantly, it is a video game, and there's so much nostalgia connected to the video game. But then if you love the video game, there's also a TV show, and then there's movies, and then there's also merch, and there's also experiences. Like, here's what's really fascinating. Like Disney has theme parks, but they don't really have games. Like Disney characters, the Mickey Mouse universe really did not do a lot of games. The way Pokemon did. Pokemon has games and all this other media, but to my knowledge, they did not do theme parks. And I know theme parks are big business, but not everyone can go to the theme park, but everyone can buy a Pikachu doll. My son literally had a fucking conniption in a GameStop. Why did I bring my children into a GameStop? Why did I even go into a GameStop? Because we were just there. We were just like, oh, maybe we could look at stuff. And he lost his mind because he was not allowed to bring home a Squirtle, a Pikachu, and some other silver Pokemon that I could not name. My 5-year-old is obsessed with Pokemon. Like, it is unbelievable the tendrils that this brand has. It is astounding. So it doesn't shock me when you read it at the top of the list.
This is my last fascinating tidbit before I close and stop looking at this Wikipedia page. Okay. Neon Genesis Evangelion made estimated $11.9 billion as of, I guess, I'm assuming today. I'm going to have to look and see how current this is. Then next to it, they have a breakdown of like, oh, this is merch sales. This is anime box office, etc. What do you think? And just as a side, you're probably never going to guess. What do you think the absolute top sales avenue?
What is the biggest revenue driver of this franchise?
What's the top revenue driver of Evangelion?
You know, I would
remember it's from Japan, so this has to do with Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I think you alluded to it. Maybe you gave it away, but is it merch? Is it toys? Is that what it is?
Merchandise sales are 1.88 billion, which is literally a shadow of the top number. Wow. The top number is $8.987 billion revenue on pachinko sales.
Oh,
fucking pachinko sales. So gambling, basically. Evangelion themed gambling. Yeah, like Evangelion pachinko. And it's like, holy shit. Like those are things we're definitely like not thinking about because it's like not our country.
Right.
But yeah,
it's not even here.
That's a thing.
Okay, wait. But I have to, all right. We may not know the answer to this. Perhaps there's more research to be done. But we're saying that, you know, this is a popular anime, but it's not Walt Disney level. It's not Pokemon level. So like a lot of people watched it and liked it, but how is that? What is going on where like a good number of people liked a show? How does that translate to, but I fucking love the Neon Evangelion pachinko machine. I have to have it. I have to play it. And what I'm alluding to here is like, is that the power of the brand, or was it some deal where every fucking machine in the 80s had the brand on it because someone was good at licensing? And so I don't even know what Evangelion is, but I'm in a bar playing the machine because I'm just here, you know, and I'm speculating about a lot of stuff, but like, it's interesting to me that a random ass revenue stream like that is so much more than the actual thing, which is movies and shows and toys. You know what I mean? How could that be so much bigger than the actual thing? I
don't know, man. Because like if you had asked me, I would have been like, oh, well, it's toys. Like obviously toys. Totally. But no, not even close. So today I learned.
Man. I need to know more.
Today I learned that if you can fucking hit the pachinko business, you can hit hard.
I talk about this with another friend of mine who we share a project, and it's just like the key to look at everything in media. And the key is, do people love this character? You know, this and the story of this character. And if the answer is yes, then print the money. You know what I mean? It's not about because you and I come from like a media journalism background, and we can make stuff that lots of people see, but once they see it or read it or watch it, it's done and gone forever.
Right.
But baby fucking Yoda is here forever. You know what I mean? Enduring. It is so it is about storytelling. This is why Disney owns and has gobbled up everything. It is why Pokemon is the king of all kings, because it's stories for everyone and cute characters that everyone wants to put on their lunchbox. It's just extraordinary. Like I guess I'm saying we're in the wrong business here, you and I.
Yeah, really. Can we get the Colette and Matt have entered the pachinko machine episode? Like, you walk up to it, it's got our banner on the top, and then like, you know, you pull the thing or whatever, and it plays like the intro, like bit chiptune music. Like, it'd be great. And then like as you play each time, it has quotes from the show. Like, wow, that is a Colette ass game. 59 FPS. Fuck that.
That's all right. Get our lawyer on the phone. We need to license this shit.
I love it.
God damn it. All right. All right. So you are claiming, if true, that you have not played anything new. How have you been doing with Returnal? Any progress there, or are you
I literally didn't see. Here's the thing. When, and this you probably know, when you have ADHD and you find something that like fires your dopamine, you must consume it all, and you must consume it all as quickly as humanly possible, because it is literally like the equivalent of like injecting some like extremely high like drug into your veins. And so I am mainlining Evangelion because there's no such thing as watching it slowly. So I have not even picked Returnal up this week. I was going to pick it up tonight after the show. So because I'm not going to watch another thing about Evangelion I found is that like if I watch a movie or I watch the show or whatever, I like need a day to breathe, because it's so intense on so many different levels that I'm like, I need a second. So this is a breathing day.
Great.
So I will watch the movies over the weekend, but yes, today will be a Returnal day. But really, the only thing I've continued to play has been Old Friends dog game, because I'm petting my dogs.
Well, you gotta keep track of those guys.
Yes, I just got a ferocious little tiny dachshund named Sharky that bites everyone's toes. I mean, like I need to make sure that Sharky is not like fucking up like the hierarchy of my dogs. So,
right. Of course.
Yes, things that are important.
Quick side note for my own self and anyone who might want to take the journey with you. It's all on Netflix, right? All the shows, all the movies are all Netflixable right now. Is that right?
Yes. So one of the things that triggered this off for me was that I knew that the movies were out, but I wanted to wait until all 4 movies were complete. And my thought was, oh, well, if I want to catch up on Ava, I'm just going to watch all that. And so when the 4th one came out, I was like, okay, it's time. And then I was like, okay, wait a minute. Is this truly a remake, or like, should I? And so I asked on Twitter, and people were like, no. Watch the show.
That was your first mistake. You asked on Twitter, and then
but I mean, I follow a lot of people who are big Ava fans, so like they were like, yeah, no, do not do that. Watch the show, watch end of, and then take a breath and like get a drink of the alcoholic variety, and then take a few days, and then after the end of has settled, then go watch the movies in order. I was like, okay, so. But I've had friends tell me that the completed movie series has been the most, as a longtime fan, has been the most rewarding experience for them of all of it. So yes, cool. You could.
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to know where the journey begins and ends. And hopefully it was not like across 17 different streaming services where you had to hunt everything down.
All on one. They are smart.
Great. They're smart. Good. So briefly, before we do the grand experiment here, I hope you've been staying with us because you could be part of this. We'll get to that in a moment, but I do want to take you on a brief journey that is connected to other things we have talked about. So I have been jonesing for something to fill a space in my gaming repertoire. Still really enjoying Sea of Thieves, though playing on and off, because it's interesting. You can have very productive, chill, relaxing sessions with it, and then you can also have very unproductive, like there are randomly a lot of aggressive players in this server instance that I'm in, and they will just hunt you down and fuck you up, and you get nothing done, and you're playing for 2 hours and you're like, shit, I didn't cash anything in because I kept getting my ass kicked. And so that's fun, and that's what the game is about. But like sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna make numbers go up and cash in some treasure, and other people have a different idea. So I'm off and on with that, still loving it, but I wanted something else for Switch or for PC, maybe even mouse and keyboard, and I was craving like a 4X like exploration game. And I think I said this previously, I own Stellaris, and I wanted to make time for it, to check it out. And I am so frustrated because it really grabbed me, and it brings you into a tutorial that is very engaging, and you're starting to uncover the depth of this game, very early stages. And I have a really nice PC, and this is an older game, and it's a 3D game, but it's basically a top-down board game essentially. And it looks fine and runs fine. And then you scroll over the map and it has this this stuttering or this hitching, and it's random. It just randomly happens. And I'm like, what the fuck? What's going wrong? And of course I'm looking online, and it's a common problem. And it's been happening in the game for, a long while, since many patches ago. Like, this game is big. Like, they have a lot of DLC, a lot of patches. And they just haven't fixed it. And I don't know. It was very disappointing to me, because this is a venerated game that's been out and updated and patched and expanded many times. And people are like, oh yeah, you got to turn the music off. And then the game stops stuttering. And it's like,
no.
What? No. First of all, maybe I don't need music. All right, turn that off. It didn't fix it for me the way it was fixing it for other people. So I'm like, it really, really bothered me. Again, I'm not trying to play Red Dead Redemption 2 in 4K. I'm just trying to play a fucking board game from 2012 or whatever it is, and it runs like dog shit. And I just said, it just is bothering me too much. Set it aside, and actually got way back into RimWorld, which I just cannot love enough. It is just such an extraordinary experience. And if you've never played it and you're scared of it, it's scary. There is a learning curve that is not quite, it's hard, even with the tutorial and the way it is set up. It's challenging to learn it. But once you understand that you are not in control of your colonists and your units, you are in control of their priorities and their needs and their wants and their environment and things like that, that it is a simulation and not a real-time strategy game, then it is like, wow. And what's great about it is that it is a great game to run in the background while you are doing other things, like working. For me, if I'm editing a podcast or writing something, and that task is not super concentration intensive, I can run RimWorld in a second monitor and let the simulation run at a normal speed or maybe a 2x speed. And as long as there's no imminent danger, I can do my work and let the colonists do the work that I have assigned them to do, and it will get done. And then if there's an emergency, like a fire or an attack or something, you can set the game to pause. So if you walk away and get a coffee, you come back and you're like, oh shit, there's a raid, and you can you can manage your shit, or you can leave it paused and live your real life and come back to it. But it's so extraordinary, and I almost always play with permadeath, because there's where the rules are, I can save when I exit, and that's it. Otherwise, whatever happens, and you have to deal with it, and it makes the stakes really high and the drama really intense. And the only other thing I'll say is there's always, as you're developing your colony, there's a research tree and there's technology tree, and it's it's a sci-fi world, so you're not inventing new technologies. It's sort of a hybrid of like we're very primitive, like we crash landed on an alien planet, but also like we have spaceships and we have guns and we have, you know, technology. So you're kind of like trying to unlock technologies that exist in the world, and there's always a shortage of a resource called components, and there's just never enough of them on the map that you're on. So there's part of the game is you can form a caravan of some of your colonists to go to another tile on the map, and they have to pack up some shit, some food, and then go. And it's like you really have to make sure that the colonists that you send can take care of each other, and they have enough supplies and they have the skills to survive away from your base, because your base has food, your base has beds, your base has security, but they have to get out there. And it's like you really can't send one, because if one gets randomly attacked by an animal and gets downed, there will be no one to rescue them. And you need to plan that. And so, you know, I sent 2 colonists. One is like kind of like my best guy, and one was a new recruit who was his kind of like a weirdo pyromaniac, doesn't do a lot of basic tasks. Like you can't assign everything to him. Not the best team player, but sent them both. And just like that drama of like, shit, like I can't progress unless these guys come back. And if one of these guys dies, I'm in real trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And also like there have been relationships that have formed between the colonists as the emergent story evolves. 2 of them have gotten married, which is common in the game. They are always together, and they click and they fall in love, and then they have a marriage ceremony, and then you know once they start dating, it's like, we would really like to sleep in the same bedroom, please, and you sort of rearrange your bedrooms to make sure that they're together. So again, the stakes of those interpersonal relationships on like, I really need this resource, but like it's really dangerous to go out there, and if someone gets killed, like we're going to be in trouble. I just find that really compelling. And those 2 campers who went out elsewhere ran out of food, and it was really dicey, and one of them had a mental breakdown, but I was able to get them back to base camp intact. And it's just a good time. So RimWorld all the way. But I will briefly continue by saying, like, okay, Stellaris didn't work out. I really wanted something on Switch. I wanted like a non-PC game. I wanted something to bring onto the couch, into bed. And based on discussions we had, you and I think it was with Syra Mueller when she was joining us, we were talking about The Last Campfire, and we were talking about Spiritfarer.
Yes.
Which were on sale for stupid cheap when we were discussing them. And I grabbed them both and never touched them. Fired up The Last Campfire. I was like, this is a straightforward, linear, simple game. It's good for bedtime. It's a puzzle game. I'm not really into puzzle games. I'm a big fan of Hello Games, the developer, obviously No Man's Sky, and I was happy to support them. And I love the art style, the sound, the initial story of this looked really good and beautiful, and I like the premise a lot. You had talked about it. I don't understand why you release a game and it wants to run at 60 frames per second and then just shits the bed all the time. Like, this is not Breath of the Wild. This is not Monster Hunter. Like, we're going in some crazy open world. It's literally like these little rooms, these dioramas, and walking from one side of the room to the other side of the room is like, And I know most people can't see it and they're not bothered by it, but it drives me fucking crazy. And it just, I didn't get far enough, and the like puzzle games are not enough to hook me to get me past it. And I just had to put it down. I just could not bring myself to do it. And I'm disappointed because, I wanted to love it, but I wanted to love it.
Yeah, I get it. And
wanted to love it.
Sometimes that's just, it is how it is, you know?
Now, I have been terrified to play Spiritfarer because I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be any sadder than I already am.
I would really encourage that you just not play that then. Because like there's literally no other way to navigate around it. Like, it is a game about death and the intimacy of death. Like, you just don't play that.
Well, I'm here to tell you that I have started playing it.
Oh!
And here is what I'm going to say. Again, I am, well, two things. Instantly hooked. Hooked. Everything about, as we all know, and as you have discussed, and as is known, it is beautiful. It is spectacular. It is gorgeous animation. The characters, everything about it is just beautiful and cozy and lovely. And I really adore it. But also, it's not, a linear whatever. It's sailing on a ship, gathering resources, improving your base, managing your not shipmates, your passengers, of course, right? There's a great backstory, which I love. Everything about this game ticks the boxes for me, and the hooks are in. I am here. I don't understand how a 2D game that takes place mostly on a ship that is just the same ship over and over again, why does it run so poorly? And I do think that the game runs at 30 frames, which is fine. That's great. But there's something about the sync or the V-sync or whatever, the animation, the characters look great. When you are moving left to right in a side-scrolling game, 30 frames can work. But there is something about when you look at the backgrounds on Switch, it looks like it is just so distracting.
Yeah.
It is so, and it's relatively even. It's not, I don't believe that it is frame loss. I don't believe it is the engine crapping out. I think there is just something about the way the scrolling is synced with the frame rate or with the refresh rate of the Switch that is not compatible. It's not jiving. And it bothers me a lot. And I'm going to say this with the full asterisk that I'm not a game developer, but we later, another day, we're getting back into Mario Kart 8 with the family. My wife enjoys it. We playing online, playing with the kids. And I'm looking at this game, this old game that predates the Switch, running on a Switch, which is not a powerful console. And it's high speed tracks, 12 characters, explosions, power-ups, with 4 players playing. And this thing is running at this it is a spectacular looking, very visually intense, speed intense game. And it just blows my mind that this thing can run like that, but a 2D game where you move left to right across, 12 inches of space cannot hold a frame rate. And I understand that Nintendo, a developer, has way more resources than an indie studio that made, an indie game. But Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Axiom Verge, all the Stardew Valley, all these games are 2D games that look and run flawlessly because they're just sprites. They're just sprites on a background, and you move left and right. And they really work. And again, I'm not trying to be a 60 frame snob. Run it at 30 frames, but like get your sync together so that you can at least look at it. I can't. And so I'm saying all this to complain, but also to say that like this is again a thing that I would say, nuh-uh, putting it down, or nuh-uh, I'm going to go over to the PC version. But this game is so good.
Oh my god!
So
and
good.
Like the beginning is just merely scratching the surface of like,
yeah, that you can, I can
my
sense
God.
it. I can sense that. And that's why I know, not only because you have talked about it, but because, when you play a game and you're starting the game and you're like, oh, okay, right, go here and do this. And you need this resource or whatever. And you start to see the, I don't know, the onion peel back and you're like, oh, there's a lot in here and I can't wait to see all the things. And you got me, Spiritfarer, and I'm really going to look past this bizarre choice or limitation, or did they choose an engine that just I really need to stick with, I'm going to continue comparing it to other indie games made by small teams or one person. They made 2D games that run well. Fucking Monster, and it's not a fair comparison, but like Monster Hunter Rise runs at 30. It's not ideal, but it's solid. Breath of the Wild runs at 30, and it is rock solid. You can see the backgrounds. You can understand where you are. It's very clear. It's just very tight. It's a tight 30, and this thing is all over the place, and I don't understand.
I almost feel like good that I don't notice, because like
I don't want to ruin your life. Honestly, it's a curse. It sounds
like a curse.
A fucking
like
curse.
I hate to say it, but like I don't think ever, and because we've already talked about how my assessment of a game pretty much stops at, wow, that looks good. Or that sounds good. Like I don't, this is not my forte, but like it does sound like if it was something that you saw, you couldn't unsee it, and then that would suck. You know
what also is really causes me some existential panic is that just bear with me. When there are other people on the internet who also see what I see and are bothered by it, but there aren't many of them. So then
you're like, what is wrong with me?
What is wrong with me? Am I crazy? Am I really seeing it, or am I not really seeing it? And you also have thousands, if not like Spiritfarer is a huge hit. Like it's an indie game, and it's probably a little, it's not, a new Metroid game or whatever, but we can safely assume that many thousands, if not millions of people have enjoyed and loved Spiritfarer on the Switch, and they don't see it. Only me and like 12 other people on the internet are noticing it. But when I turn it on, I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is wrong with this thing? And that is very disconcerting to me. It's like seeing an imaginary bunny on the road, and you're like, guys, what the fuck? And everyone else is like, what are you talking about?
There's no bunny.
There's no bunny.
There's no bunny.
So anyway, but all that to say, I briefly was like, I was watching footage of the PC version. I was like, okay, no, the PC version seems to be doing all the things it's doing. And this is the other thing is like, what I think is happening here, again, not a developer, is that you make a game in a certain engine and you optimize it for PC, because that seems to be a place that that is the tool that you use to make games, and you run it in a PC environment, and then you get it all worked out and you make it great. And then there's additional work to port it to a less powerful or different architecture system like a Switch or a PlayStation, whatever.
Right.
And I think some people do that really well, or you hire another studio who's really good at it, or you just hit the button and you say it's good enough and it passes QA, and then there it is. And I'm not accusing any developer of being lazy. I just mean like it's good enough for most people, so it's fine. And I'm over here being like, it's not fine, and your game is so good, and your game deserves better than this like not so great port that came over to the Switch, which is the platform I would really love to play it on.
Right.
Anyway,
sounds like what you need is a Steam Deck.
I mean, what I could do, if I want to pay, and it was so cheap on Switch, I was like, yeah, I'm getting it on Switch. That's where I want to play. I want to play it handheld, nice and cozy. Bought it for cheap. I could pay $20 on top of that to get it on Steam, and then stream it from my PC to my phone, and it might actually work okay with touch controls now that I think about it. But I also have the Razer Kishi, which I highly recommend if you're doing any phone gaming or streaming to a phone, because it connects to your phone with a with a USB-C, so it connects directly, no Bluetooth, and it connects on either side like a Switch, not like a controller clip,
Neat.
Which is cool, but it gets heavy. Like if you mount your phone to a controller and it gets top heavy. So the reason the Switch, as we know, is so magical is because you're holding it on its sides. And the Razer Kishi does that. It turns your phone into a Switch, and then you can emulate games if you like, or you can stream them. And I see it advertised alongside of xCloud and Game Pass as like, hey, play all your Game Pass games in the cloud on your phone. And this is the controller for it. So if anyone's interested in that, check out the Razer Kishi. I've never heard of that.
I'm gonna ask you for a link.
Yeah, I'll send it over. Maybe we'll link it in the show notes. But anyway, so now I'm thinking about that. But perhaps I'll just muscle through on the Switch. Again, all that to say, I am a cursed person who is so upset about this issue, and yet Spiritfarer is so magical.
Oh man,
that I really think I will look past it and stick with it.
Just wait. Just wait. It's so good.
Yep.
So good. Yeah, no, I get it. But maybe the best way to ease the pain, the burden of carrying this curse is to talk about what's going to go into our Steam roulette wheel.
Oh, baby, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Who's going to spin the wheel here?
Well, one question, I think. Well, first of all, yeah, let's talk about settings. So we talked about this briefly before the show. So I've got it up, and what I have on my settings is random all, no sexual content, supports English.
Okay.
And I chose default popularity instead of is popular. So what do we feel about that?
I don't think we want popular.
Okay, so I think I'll hit default popularity rather than is popular.
Which I assume means any level of popularity. Similarly, default reviews, meaning like we're not skewing this toward, good reviews or bad reviews. It's literally how many games are on Steam? 10,000, 50,000? Who? I don't know. It could be any one of those games, with the exception of it's got to be in English and no special sort of peripheral requirements such as a VR headset, or I don't know what else you might do.
Okay. Well, then it would seem that I have the roulette wheel set as it should be set, so I could spin.
Okay. What you're going to do, you're going to spin, and then you put the link to the Steam store page that you discover in the chat here of our podcast platform, and then we shall embark together. Here we go. Right. I'm rolling drums.
Discover. It's thinking. Okay, the first game that came up is called Rebound Dodgeball Evolved. About the game. Rebound Dodgeball Evolved is a fast, competitive, multiplayer, sci-fi themed dodgeball game. The top-down camera and twin-stick shooter controls make it easy to just pick up and play. However, the fast-paced nature of the game gives it a high skill ceiling. So it looks like there's more details, and I could read them all closely, but this is a single and multiplayer game. You can do local multiplayer and online multiplayer, it looks like. It is an indie game. One thing I realized about the whatshouldisteam.com is that it does not give you, at least not where I can see it, a link to go to Steam to buy the game. I don't know why.
On the top, there's like a green button that goes to, it says go to the Steam store or something.
Okay, never mind. I overlooked it. Okay, so this game is $14.99. It is not on sale. It has one user review.
Okay, here's what's striking me about this. it is citing a Kotaku review, like this game was written about at a major media publication, but only one person on Steam has reviewed it.
Well,
I'm seeing a bunch.
No, that's not
now.
right. It says a one user review overall, but if you go down there are reviews.
Yes,
that's
you're right.
Weird.
Interesting.
That's weird. Okay. Well, anyway, there are a mix of thumbs up and thumbs down in here. Pros: music isn't grating. Wow.
Wait. We should not read the Steam reviews because we are stuck with this game, possibly.
Right.
So we need to form our own.
This is what we did. We're stuck with the game.
The only red flag here is that the game is $15, which is fine, but we also are interested in having listeners play with us. So
right. So
right now, do we want to commit to this?
Well, here's a proposal. The proposal is that we do so I hit next and I go to the next game and we do 3, and then we compare the prices of the 3 and decide, okay, rather than just having one game to choose from, perhaps then we're like, okay, of these 3 games. Well, actually, if we do that though, does that mean that like we're like picking the better looking option?
Right. Are we
cheating?
Are we cheating? This is a great question. I'm immediately intrigued by that, but also feels like cheating.
Well, this is the maiden voyage of the Steam roulette wheel. So I'm going to say I'll hit next and we will see the 3 that come up, and then we will decide after the fact if what we're doing is cheating or not.
Here's as all good cheaters.
This
as all
is
good
awesome.
cheaters do.
This is awesome because the next game that came up is called Waves of Death. Kill or be killed! As a result of the tragic mistake by scientists working for the army, a new generation viral compound has spread all over the town, making the dead come back to life. All the dead. I mean, okay, cool.
I mean, I think we have our answer. Link me to this, please. I need to see it.
This is, let's see. Okay, this is a game that is $9.99. It is a regular game, but can also be played in VR.
Interesting.
The screenshots make it look like a fairly straightforward shooter, but I am extremely impressed by the fact that the name is Waves of Death. So
Waves of Death?
That's what it's called.
Okay.
Waves of Death.
I see.
So,
you know what though? This has a demo, which would be free.
That would be helpful.
Man, if we could limit by demo, that would be great too.
That would be sick. Well, we'll have to experiment. But in the meantime, I think that this could be a maybe. But if we're going to do best of 3, as if you could beat something called Waves of Death, I'm going to just hit
Let's
next.
do it. Let's roll again.
And now I have The Minims, an adventure game in the vein of point-and-click games about a personal journey of an endearing creature of the minim species. In this game, the player must use logic, collect important items, and solve puzzles in order to guide me in his search to find his life partner, Mo. I'm gonna open this on the Steam store and link it as well. This is also a $9.99 game. So I think maybe I'm kind of feeling the vibe of like maybe $10 or below might be a good good space for us. So
I agree.
I will say that as excited as I was to play Rebound Dodgeball Evolved, that perhaps we're going to shuffle until we get games that are $9.99 or less. Maybe that's how it goes. But this game has...
Do you want to roll for a third $9.99, or are we choosing between Waves of Death or the Minims?
I mean, I'm really like the Minims looks like it could actually be a nice game, although it has mixed reviews. It's interesting looking, but I mean, I don't know. I personally feel like, well, since we just made the $9.99 decision, why don't we try rolling again? Because I kind of think that we should. I hate the fact that this doesn't have a price cut off. It's stupid. But actually, no, you know what? I take it back. We rolled 3 games. These are the 3 games we got. That's I think I'm going to call it. So,
and I will say, honestly, we can share this in the Discord ASAP, and because it's a free demo, anyone
Right.
who wants to can take part here. And maybe you and I check out the scope of the demo. Like, is the demo like 10 minutes long and you really don't get enough of the game, or will the demo give us all the information we need to know? We'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that Waves of Death is going to be the move. And also, I'm realizing that this would probably be best managed by creating a text channel in our Discord that is called Steam Roulette,
or is it called Waves of Death? With no context.
No context. The community's like, what? Why?
The hell is this? Yeah.
What is? I mean, I did just make a channel called Anime Psychoanalysis 1.0. But you know what's funny? No one even blinked. They were just like, "Oh yeah, okay."
They're like, "Yeah, we're here. We're here for this.
We're here for this." Yeah. So, okay. I wish I had a bell or something to ring. Waves of Death is the winner. We're going to play Waves of Death this week. So, another thought I had that would be cool is that we can actually play this in the Cat Cafe in the Discord, which is our like voice channel, video channel. So like if we want, we can stream it and like other people can come and like watch it happen. So we can figure out the details on that to make it work. But I think that would be a really fun way to like engage everybody.
I love that, of course. It's single player, right? So we cannot play together, but
you can hang.
We can stream it and hang. I certainly would never want to blow up your Twitch schedule and priorities there. But does it make any sense to bring it there? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, at some point it might, honestly, and we can definitely hammer that out as we go. But like, for now, like let's test it here and see if it's fun for everybody, But I mean, right. I can't imagine that there's some way that I will not have fun playing a game called Waves of Death, because I will be tittering from the get-go, even if it's good. But yeah, so the point is,
how does the
exploration and discovery
work in Discord? Yes. How does it work in Discord? You fire up the game and then you stream your screen from Discord, but you're not on camera necessarily, but you can be on voice. What is all that?
So basically, in your voice channel section on Discord, you have the ability to hang out in a channel where everyone just has their mic on and are talking, or you can have video shared, or you can have screen shared. So for instance, if I wanted to play a game in the Discord and go hang out in the Cat Cafe, which is the name of our like hangout, if you're going to voice chat or play games here, it's like streaming, it's just like streaming, but you're not doing it on Twitch. You're just doing it in your Discord. So, basically, like it'll be like, okay, we now have a new channel for this, and this is when we'll do it, and we'll decide on a time that one or both of us hops on and plays the game, and we talk to people if they come hang out. So that's how it's going to work. It's going to be neat.
Love it. All right, so the next steps are, this goes live on Friday. We will then share a link in the show notes to this game, which again has a demo, so you can grab it right away. We will also share it in the Discord, which is linked in the show notes. If you're not in the Discord, come in there to be part of this. And then we will all play it separately. We meaning you and I, but also anyone who wants to participate. And also TBD, there will be a live playing / hangout scheduled in the Discord at a convenient time. Maybe over the weekend,
or welcome to come. Anyone that is listening, invited. We would love for you to come and hang out and laugh at said game with us, or maybe not laugh. Maybe we'll find a good game. I don't know. Either way, I think that this could be an exercise in genius. Either way, we are going to laugh.
Yes, yeah, I think that's guaranteed. That's good.
Really good.
All right. We will see you there, and we will see you on the Discord. And we also want to see you in the emails. If you want to get in on this action and you're not really a Discord person, send us an email, haveenteredthechat@gmail.com. That could be about the grand experiment, but it could also just be about a game we talked about here, about anything you are playing. We really enjoy hearing from you and learning about the games that you are enjoying, because that informs what we talk about here. So send us an email. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate and review it on your favorite platform. That really helps us grow, helps people who discover the show realize that, like, yeah, other people are here too. And we know you're out there. So thank you for that. If you've done it. Our theme music is by Azure Flux, and our logo is illustrated by Just Call Me Katarina. Thank you for chatting, Colette. Any final thoughts, final closing words here on this auspicious day?
I'm just thinking about Waves of Death. Like, I'm sorry. Death. I was going to play Returnal, but now I'm literally just staring at the Steam page thinking about Waves of Death. Waves of Death. Like, wow, what a freaking title. Yeah, I'm hype. I'm freaking hype.
Hype for Waves of Death. You've heard it here. We will talk at you next Friday. Thanks so much. Bye.